Welcome back to another episode. I am your host, the Real Jason Duncan. Today I'm talking with Sean Barnes. We're going to be talking about a guy who was an IT nerd, went from corporate America and transitioned into entrepreneur, went from introvert to now speaking on stages and coaching and talking to other people and running his own company. We're going to talk to somebody who used to not want to be in front and now is in front. So we're going to find out how that happened. He's a seasoned cross-functional leader. And, I'm not sure what that means, but that's what my team tells me that he is. So we'll figure out what the heck that means. He's got 2 decades of progressive expertise in leadership development, digital strategy, operational excellence, human resources, personal branding. These are all things that he has experience in, and he really has a passion for getting leadership together with operational excellence, because you can operate excellently and have bad leaders. You can have good leaders and bad operational standards. So he's trying to figure out how to harmonize those 2 things. And so he founded a company called WSS Solutions, and he hosts a podcast called The Way of the Wolf. So I know you're a listener of podcasts, or you want to be listening to this one. So maybe go check out The Way of the Wolf on your favorite podcast platform. And through that platform on this podcast, he's dedicated to developing exceptional leaders, helping them build high-performance teams, and he tries to help them consistently surpass expectations. And to put it succinctly, his mission is to empower organizations to achieve sustainable success by encouraging a culture of excellence and that of continuous improvement. I'll share with you how to get in touch with him at the end of the show. But Sean, welcome to the root of all success.
Jason, it is an absolute pleasure to be here. As I've been checking out you and your channel and everything, I've started to get increasingly excited about us having this conversation. So happy to be here.
All right. So thank you for that. I have a little brother named Sean. He spells it the phonetically correct way. You're a Scene. He's a Sean. So it's used to being Jason and Sean. I've heard that my entire life. So now it's today. We got Jason and Scene. I mean, Jason and Sean. You got the Irish spelling, right? You got the Irish spelling. I do. Well, so beyond the spelling of your name, so tell me a little bit about how you made this transition from corporate America to entrepreneurship, because what I think you were telling me pre-show is that it was much harder than you thought it was going to be.
It was. So I'm going to give you kind of a very shortened version of the long story. So right out of college, well, actually, you know what? Even before that, I had aspirations to do big things in life. And so I kind of had this entrepreneurial spirit. And right out of college, I tried starting a couple of companies. One was an IT repair / computer services company, failed miserably. The other was an automotive speed shop, because I'm real big into fast cars and just having a good time with nice cars. Both of those businesses failed, and I had to get a real job and found myself in oil and gas. Now, being the introverted IT nerd, I kind of pursued a career in IT, and that made sense for me. It worked out well because I could achieve high levels of success from behind a keyboard without having to really interact with people. I set very specific and targeted goals for myself. By the time I was 25, I wanted to have the manager title. By the time I was 30, the 6-figure salary. And by the time I was 35, that VP title. And I hit every single one of those goals. But by my mid-30s, I wasn't fulfilled, and I wasn't really being challenged anymore. And I saw an opportunity to step in and start leading human resources at the company that I was with. I kind of raised my hand and volunteered, and that was met with some skepticism and confusion by the CEO, as you might imagine. After a good bit of convincing, she let me try, and ended up leading the HR team for a year. And that completely changed the entire trajectory of my life. It opened my eyes to the power of pouring into others and developing everyone else on the team. And when you do that, all ships start to rise with the tide. So I got pretty good at that. And then they had me start a project management office, and then ESG, which is environmental, social, and governance department. Then they had me start leading safety and transportation, and pretty much in being with that company for a decade, I was their vice president of corporate operations. So all support functions at the corporate level rolled up into me. And then I realized something. Each time I started in an entirely new functional domain, I had to start over at the bottom to start learning what is payroll processes, what are benefits, how do you manage and implement benefits plans for an organization. And through that process of learning and growing, each time I started leading new teams, I got better at developing new skills. And then I thought, okay, what's the next big challenge for Sean? Let's start a business. And I thought, because I knew so much about businesses and scaling businesses at scale, that it would be super simple. What I misjudged was it is very different to jumpstart flow through a system that doesn't exist than it is to improve processes to get more flow through an existing system.
Boom.
And so I think that's the biggest challenge that I've come to realize as an entrepreneur is, once again, starting over. And it is stressful beyond belief. And I make 1/20th of what I did before. And Jason, I love it. I am just loving the stress and the pressure, because I know that one day this will be the story that I'm going to tell to others. And so that's kind of where my head is at.
So you went through how many years corporate America?
Oh, well, I mean, probably 16, 17 years corporate America.
16, 17, and now launched how many years ago into starting the business? Was that a couple years ago?
Yeah, I started it on the side about 3.5 years ago and been doing it full time for 1 year.
All
So
right,
we're a small team. There's only 4 of us right now, but we're doing some big things.
How old are you, Sean?
I am 42.
42, man. You got plenty of time. I didn't start my first company until I was in my 30s.
Okay.
Late 30s, mid to late 30s. And so you're good. You're good, man. You got plenty of time.
Yeah.
I'll turn 50 this year. So I'm, I'm
man, you don't look it.
Thank
What's
you.
the key?
Well, honest living, I suppose.
All right.
Well, you said something really interesting, and the audience is paying attention. I said, boom, when you said it. And you said, hey, man, the flow of having something going is easier to keep going than starting it from a dead stop. And this is the conundrum that entrepreneurs have to learn on their own. It doesn't matter how many times we tell them as podcast hosts, as other successful entrepreneurs, as speakers on the stage, is that a startup is a bazillion times harder than just buying a company that already exists and making it better. Mm-hmm. And you may say, well, that's shortcutting. That's taking a shortcut. That's fine. You can call it whatever you want. But I would tell anybody who's coming to me, you have to start a business in order to understand that. And I think you should. I have an intern who's sitting off camera right now. He's just starting his apprenticeship, a 1-year apprenticeship under me. And I want him to start a business. I want him to go through the pain and struggle. But long term, most people are going to find much more satisfaction in buying a business and then improving it for the very reason that you stated it. And you discovered it, the difference between corporate America and entrepreneurship. So let me ask you this question, Sean. What is it that WSS Solutions does?
We have 2 primary verticals that we focus in. One is going to be leadership development and executive coaching. And then the other is going to be consulting, all in the domains of human resources and IT. And we kind of do a lot of things in those buckets, but those are the 2 primary buckets that we focus on. I run point on all things for the coaching side. And then my number 2 in the organization, she runs point on all things for the consulting side.
So you're actually are serving the person you used to be.
I am. It makes it very easy for me to connect with them. And a lot of my coaching clients are actually technology executives that maybe they were a manager promoted to a director, or a director promoted to VP, or even CIO. And because I can understand their world, I understand what it's like to be the introverted IT nerd that's the smartest in the room, but can't effectively communicate, but also doesn't know you can't effectively communicate. It makes it easy for me to connect with them and help them understand the power of developing leadership skills and effective communication skills and things like that.
Well, you certainly don't look like an IT nerd. For those of you that are not watching this on YouTube, go to youtube.com/the Real Jason Duncan. This is a little shameless plug for my YouTube channel. If you're listening to this on Apple or Spotify, go watch it because we have a pretty cool video that we do for these podcasts. So go check it out and you can see what I'm talking about. Sean does not look like your typical IT nerd. Now, you said that you've been doing this part-time for a few years and then you just went full-time. You got a small team of 4 people. Tell me who's on your team right now. You've said that your number 2 handles, forgive me, you said something specific and I don't want to misstate it, but you said she handles something specifically. What is it?
Yeah, so basically, Crystal's my number 2, and she runs point on, she's our VP of Professional Services. So all things in consulting with human resources, operational excellence, and transportation, things like that, she runs point on. And then we have a brand manager. Her name is Mary. She helps us with the website, the podcast, content creation, all of that stuff. And then we have a payroll manager down in Corpus who also helps us with customers because we do process payroll for a number of our customers. And then we have a few other contractors that will pull in for technology projects and things like that. But that's what the team looks like right now.
All right. So you've got four support staff. One of them sounds like they're more A-team, A-team.
Let's take a quick break to thank our amazing sponsors for making this podcast possible.
I finally got it. It's the brand new Relay credit card. So check it out. I'm going to do a little unboxing for you so you can check this out. So here we go. Nice little case. Kind of like the American Express, you know. They're not playing. They're doing it right. Oh, look at this. There's a quote right inside that says, "Success is having to worry about every damn thing in the world except money." Johnny Cash. That's pretty good. I've not heard that one. Oh, this is nice. A little thing on the back, up to 1.5% cash back, no annual fees or interest, 30-day billing cycle. And there it is. It's the Relay credit card. It's a Visa. So I'm not going to show you my number, but there it is. Look at that. Boom. Go to therealjasonduncan.com/relay.
Thanks for listening to our sponsors. Now, back to the show.
Personnel.
Well, they're all A-team in my eyes.
Well, and I have a particular reason why I say that. In my framework, what I teach is that you've got to get your support squad in place before you can go anywhere else. And the support squad are the people that are going to help your admin. They're going to help push the cart forward. Mm-hmm. And then at some point you have to start developing your A-team, and the A-team are the people that you leave in charge when you're not there. Yeah. And so it sounds like you've got somebody on your A-team, you got some good support squad that the A-team has no reference to their value. It's just their functionality. But do you believe that you've hired these people at the right time, or were you too early? Were you too late? What has been your experience?
Yeah, so this was a learning experience that only comes through experience. We actually had a number of customers because, like I said, we've been doing this on the side for a number of years. And we had 2 big customers that had committed to a significant amount of work for the 2024 year. So I ended up bringing a couple people on as W-2 employees to service that work. Well, as things happen, changes occurred, and these customers backed out of the work that we had committed. And so for the entirety of 2024, it has just been scrap and claw and all things around customer acquisition. And it's been working, but our revenue has pretty much been flat for 2024. Whereas if I go the 3 years before, it was like this upward trajectory. And then 24 hit, those customers pulled out of the work they had committed to, and then it's just been flat ever since. But we are pretty optimistic about 2025. So that's a very long-winded way of saying probably hired too fast for it, but we've been able to make it work, and it's been helping us have the capacity to put more systems and documentation around our processes internally.
Well, I think that hiring too fast, I think is a big problem for a lot of people, but it's not as big a problem as hiring too slow. I don't think if you you line up 100 entrepreneurs and you say, in all the decisions you made, regret level, on doing something faster than you should have or slower than you should have, which one do you regret the most? And they're slower. They would say, I always regret, I should have done this 10 years ago, should have done this 4 years ago, should have done this 6 months ago. They'll regret that more than I hired that person too soon. So I wouldn't beat yourself up too much about that. As an entrepreneur standing on, almost 2 decades of entrepreneurship, looking back, I'd say, hey, you're fine. If you've hired them too early, hurt cash flow maybe, but it's certainly better than waiting too long. And I also give you some encouragement. Like my revenue in 24 over 23 was down, but my profit was up over 6 figures. So, and which is the number that counts, by the way.
Yeah.
So your number's got to get up to, your profit line is much more important than the top line. Although the top line is the one everybody puts on magazines. I have 2 awards on my wall for, being that guy who had such a profitable or a high revenue company, but nobody asked me what my profit was. So
from
I would
Energy
rather
Lighting,
have a profit
from that company.
Do what?
From Energy Lighting Services.
Yes. Yeah. That was, two times Inc. 5000 winner. And we were profitable both those years, by the way. I don't want to say that we weren't, but if they were judging people on profitability, I would have probably been a lot closer to the top of that list, because I can guarantee you the people that top that list that were doing oodles and oodles of revenue may or may not have been profitable at all. I think you look at Amazon. Amazon was not profitable, I think, for 17 years? I might have that number wrong, but it was a long time. Now, ultimately, they pushed past it, and now they're very profitable. But as a small company, I would much rather have a high bottom line than a high top line.
Well, and here's the thing, right? This is an important topic for entrepreneurs to understand. And yes, you cited the example with Amazon. That one's very well documented and known. And it's a testament to how important it is to understand management of cash flow and be able to have a vision that you and your team and everybody can get behind. Because if the profit dips down too low, but you are investing in your team, your systems, your processes, so that you can have something big on the back end, that's okay. But I think a lot of entrepreneurs, especially new ones, get themselves into a little bit of a bind where, one, they don't truly understand how to manage their cash. And then also they're living paycheck to paycheck, and it makes it difficult for you to invest in the future, because it's kind of like looking into the abyss and you're betting on yourself. And is it going to pay off? I don't know. I sure hope so. But I mean, that speaks to the importance of grit and tenacity if you're going to jump off into the entrepreneurship realm.
So after a successful corporate America career and now budding career as an entrepreneur, you already mentioned that you love this a million times more, even though you're making a lot less money. What do you think is the key to your success corporately, and what will be the key to success as an entrepreneur?
It's funny, Jason. I actually just gave a speech on this topic about a month ago. It's actually on my website. But over the years and having my own podcast, interviewing a lot of high-performing individuals, I've come to understand that there's a little bit of a theme. People that are intrinsically driven and have a fire inside of them usually encounter some form of adversity, usually early in life, but they encounter significant amounts of adversity throughout their life. And it's almost like there's this band where if you don't experience enough adversity, you kind of live life on easy mode and you're just kind of coasting and just kind of going through the motions. If you experience too much adversity, the mental anguish can be challenging to overcome. But I think if you experience the right amount of adversity, it can ignite a fire inside of you that is just hotter than hot and can't be put out. For me, that was my biological father abandoning me whenever I was 3, just like disappeared off the face of the earth. And then move forward, whenever I was 9, a man named Lamar Barnes stepped into the picture. He married my mom, adopted me. Fast forward to 20 years old, and then he passed away. And so there's these challenges that I have experienced, and I could probably loosely tie it to the feeling of abandonment, and then it driving me to build myself into a mountain of a man that was so respected and so admired that no one would ever abandon me again. And so I say all of that because I think it's important for people to understand we are all unique. We have all experienced challenges and adversity in life, some more than others. But for the people that experience that adversity and they learn how to convert it into fuel, those are the people that are going to accomplish big things. And they're going to have a relentless pursuit of excellence that just can't be, you just can't put that fire out with most of them. And so if I had to answer the question of like what drives me, it's that relentless pursuit of excellence at all costs, and stepping away from the massive comp package that I had before so that I could go into the abyss of the unknown of starting a business. Like, that's what's working well for me. And I know that the challenges I'm going through are just going to make me into an even stronger version of myself. So that's the driver for me.
I think it's an interesting perspective that you just gave about this adversity idea, that too much adversity can defeat you. Not enough adversity doesn't give you enough perspective to go where you need to go. And so there's this, as you said, it's like this Goldilocks adversity story, is that there's this spot right in the middle that is just right on adversity. But the problem is nobody can predict that. Nobody knows what is the right amount. Is bankruptcy the right amount? Is like the last guest I interviewed, is becoming a quadriplegic? Is that too much? Is that not enough? Is losing a spouse? Is being diagnosed with cancer? What is it? What adversity, what level of adversity is going to challenge you to become who you are? So I want you to take that just a second, Sean, and let's have a conversation about this. As a listener who's paying attention to this show right now, and they're listening to a podcast to get insight, and they're going through adversity, you name it, but it doesn't matter what it is. What would you give them advice? What would you say to them so that they could make it through that?
If you're experiencing adversity in any capacity in your life, there is a silver lining. It is always there, and sometimes you have to search really hard to find it, but I promise you, it is there. So whenever you are down and stressed and or depressed and struggling, step back and ask yourself, what is this trying to teach me? What can I learn from this? How can I grow from this? And you don't have to do it alone. Find people that genuinely care about you and want to lift you up. Pick up the phone. Hey, I'm really struggling with this. Can you give me some guidance? Now, you also have to be able to assess the people that you're talking to and determine, is this the right person? But there are people in your life, there are people around you that will help you and will help lift you up. Don't be afraid to lean into others. Find that silver lining and just relentlessly pursue that silver lining, and know that when you make it out the other side of it, that you are going to be better, that you are going to be stronger.
How do you define the word success?
Man, that is such a great question. I would say waking up every day and knowing that you are focused on putting your dent in the universe and you are moving in the right direction. I used to think of it as in monetary terms, like, can I get that 6-figure salary? Can I get that cool Corvette? Can I get that? Like, none of that stuff matters. Whenever you find your mission and purpose, and then you just relentlessly pursue it, and you set yourself up so that you can relentlessly pursue it, I think that is success, man.
So by that definition, do you consider yourself to be successful?
I'm heading in that direction.
I love it. I love it. Well, what's interesting about this show is that, the root of all success is I ask every guest, and your guest number 278 or whatever the number is of this podcast. And there have been a few similar answers, but everybody has a slightly different perspective on it. And I think what you just said there is, are you moving? Are you making progress? And I think that's the key. I really do. I agree with you, Sean. I think that.
Let's take a quick break to thank our amazing sponsors for making this podcast possible.
As an entrepreneur running multiple businesses, effective communication is critical for me. I've tried all kinds of outreach tools over the years, but none have compared to Dubb when it comes to driving real results, and that's D-U-B-B. I was one of Dubb's first users. I think it was like 7 years ago when they first launched, and I've been a loyal customer ever since. Dubb has completely transformed my prospecting, my client communication strategy, and here's why. Dubb makes it simple to record personal video messages and share them across email, SMS, social media, and more. And this brings back the face-to-face connection that's missing from most digital outreach. And what happens is my prospects instantly feel more engaged when they can put my face to my name. I end up building a stronger relationship faster by incorporating these video messaging into my workflow. Dubb also provides tracking and analytics so I can see exactly who engages with my videos and how they respond to them. Their automation and their CRM features help me nurture leads and close more deals. I mean, that's what we're trying to do, right, as entrepreneurs. So after using Dubb for years, I absolutely can't recommend them enough. I mean, Ruben, those guys over there are phenomenal. I love Darius. They're all great guys. It's become an invaluable tool that I depend upon to run my businesses efficiently. And if you want to boost your outreach and see amazing results like I have, head over to therealjasonduncan.com/Dubb. That's D-U-B-B. And you can try it completely for free. No credit card required. You get the first 50% off your first 2 months, by the way, if you use my link. You need to take your prospecting to the next level with video messaging from Dubb. They're my go-to sales communication platform for nearly 7 years and counting. Go to therealjasonduncan.com/Dubb. Try it for free, no credit card required, and you'll get 50% off your first 2 months as well.
Thanks for listening to our sponsors. Now, back to the show.
Especially in your background for corporate America coming into entrepreneurship, you're not making as much money. You enjoy it more, but I think you could probably also see the progress that you're making better than you could see when you're working in corporate world. Is that right?
It is, man. It's not. I have come to realize that it's not about the destination. It's about the journey. And as long as you continue moving forward, that's what it's about.
So in the book, 10X is Easier Than 2X by Dr. Benjamin Hardy and Dan Sullivan. Have you read that book, by the way?
Actually, I haven't. No.
All right. It's phenomenal. I've read it 3 times since August. Like, it's been that good. I've read it that many times since August, and we're in early January 25 when we're recording this. But one of the things that Dan Sullivan teaches, this idea of the gap and the gain. And the gap is the gap between where you are now and the goal or the horizon, which you just talked about. It's not about the destination. It's what you just said. Well, the destination is the horizon or that. It's not about that. It's about the journey. Well, the journey is the gap, is the gain between where you are and where you were. So if you measure your success between where you are and where you want to go, you'll always come up short, because the horizon always is the same distance away. And as entrepreneurs, that 6-figure salary that you want as an entrepreneur, as soon as you hit it, you're like, I want 200, I want 400, I want $1 million. It'll always change. But if you turn around and look behind you and you say, well, how far have I come? Where was I? That's when you know I've grown and I'm successful.
One thing that I want to add to that, Jason, and I agree with everything that you just shared. I believe that as we grow, as we achieve our successes in life, there's an important aspect in that we almost have this responsibility to turn around and lift others up with us. And we can't do the work for them, but what we can do is shine a light and say, look, you want to grow, you want to be successful, go down that way. And yeah, it's dark and scary. I get it, but that's the point. But we've already walked the path. And so while they're going to walk on a slightly different path, we can at least guide them, be that guide for them. And I think that's an important element. And I know that business owners and leaders and people in your life that espouse that philosophy. I also know that you have other people that you have interacted with that do not espouse that philosophy. I create a little bit of a distance. I mean, everybody's on their own path, but I am focused on surrounding myself with excellence and people that espouse a similar philosophy to that. So I do think that's an important element of success.
Well, as we wrap up today, I want to make sure I give you the opportunity to have the last word on the show. But before we get to the last word, just out of pure curiosity, because I also love cars and things that go fast, what was the business that you had in that industry that didn't work? You said failed. What were you doing?
Yeah, I mean, it really just automotive speed shop. It was called Bad Habit Racing. I had a Pontiac Formula at the time and real big into F bodies and really drag racing, not so much autocross or road racing or anything like that. It was all just drag racing, straight line acceleration, and just modifying cars. And the big challenge that I ran into, the branding was great and on point, but it was just, honestly, I just didn't put enough time into it. I think that was my biggest challenge there.
So were you eighth mile or quarter mile?
Primarily, well, I mean, I ran both, but there's an 8th mile track that was closer, so ended up going there more times than not. The closest quarter mile track was about an hour and a half away. So I probably made more passes down the 8th than I did the quarter.
What's your fastest pass on the eighth mile?
Let's see. So 8th, 6:38 or so. So that was
38. And what in a formula? Were you in a
yeah.
formula?
So it was heads cam nitrous 6-speed formula. Yeah.
So six seconds on eighth of a mile. I don't think people appreciate how fast that really is. That pulls the front end off the ground.
Oh yeah.
I love bracket racing. I don't do it, but I love doing it. I've done it on motorcycles many times. My wife, I brought her to the speed to the race one time, and with the kids when they were little. My kids are in their 20s now, but when they were little, we did it, and she said, I'm never, ever doing this again because it was so loud and the smell, the burnt rubber and all that.
Yeah.
But this is a true story. First time I ever drag race ever in my life, we were at a Harley rally somewhere in Middle Tennessee. And I had just bought, like the weekend before, I don't remember what year it was, but it was a Harley Dyna Fat Bob, I think or maybe it was a Street Bob. And it had high compression pistons and had a stroker kit in it. So it was a beast. And so to start it, you had to hit the buttons on the cylinder heads to release the pressure. And it made this cool noise. I never drag raced before. And I just bought the bike. I came in second out of the whole heat. And the only guy who beat us was the guy who organized the event. And so I was hooked. I was like, this is the best thing ever. So the next, I think it was 2 or 3 weeks later, we were back home and they were having an open, to the public, whoever showed up in whatever vehicle they could drag race. And I went and I told my wife to come, and I took my other Harley. I had a different one. And she said, I ain't never doing this again. So I haven't really done it that many times, but I love the 8th mile. I think that's so much fun. And I think I did it in 9 seconds. So it's
a lot of fun. And I don't think many people understand or appreciate how challenging bracket racing can be. I personally loved it because, I mean, even having a 6-speed car, most of the time people say 6 speeds aren't consistent, but I knew without a shadow of a doubt after my first pass, whatever that run was, I was usually landing the rest of the day within 4 to 5 hundredths of a second. That'd be like 638, 639, 638, 639, 640. Like, I mean, it was just, and I absolutely love it. But brackets is a whole nother game, and it is a lot of fun.
Well, and that guy who beat me only beat me because he knew how to play the bracket game better than me, because he did bracket racing all the time. Yep. And so when you have to pick, I don't remember what they call it, but you have to pick what time you predict you're going to win, go in. He was able to predict better than me. Mm-hmm. But I had a better bike than him. I wasn't a better racer, but I had a better bike than him. And anyway, that's a little curiosity, just personal thing. So people who don't care about racing can have fast forwarded this. We're close to the end of the show anyway. Well, getting back to leadership, entrepreneurship, et cetera. Sean, what is your final, I'm going to give you the opportunity, final words, pieces of advice, just things you want to tell people. I will tell people how to get in touch with you, so you don't have to worry about that. But other than that, is there anything else you want to say?
I think one of the most important decisions that I've made in life is understanding how and when to find my purpose and put my dent in the universe. And whenever I made that decision, I planned for years to do everything I could to be able to have the impact that I wanted to have in the world. And having this analytical and logical brain, like, I put copious amounts of energy and effort into planning. And whenever I finally executed, I pretty much threw most of it out the window and just had to start moving forward. So it doesn't matter how much you plan. It really doesn't matter. Just start. You will learn along the way.
Sean, thank you so much for being a guest on my show. Congratulations on all your success. I will be a fan and rooting you along as you continue to build your company. So thanks for being on the show today. Well, there you have it. Another very successful entrepreneur, budding new entrepreneur, really. I mean, over the last 3 or 4 years, only a year or so full time. But stay tuned. Sean Barnes is not done with this world. He's putting a big dent in it. You need to follow him. So go check him out at SeanBarnes.com. And that's SeanBarnes, SeanBarnes.com. He can be found on LinkedIn at Sean Barnes. You can find him on Instagram or X at _Sean Barnes. So go check him out. Make sure you follow him. And when you do, just say, hey, I heard you on the Root of All Success with the Real Jason Duncan. Make sure you tune in again next week when I talk with yet another very successful entrepreneur about his or her journey to success. As always, I am the Real Jason Duncan, and Jesus is King.
Attention business owners. Attention business owners. Feeling burnout from running your business? Uncertain if you're nearing burnout? Take our free 10-question business burnout test at businessburnouttest.com to discover where you stand. With just 10 quick questions, you'll learn how to immediately begin making changes to regain freedom and success. Cut your daily operations time in half. Improve your quality of life and prepare your business for your future exit without losing revenue or profit. Visit businessburnouttest.com now and take the test. Thank you for listening to another edition of The Root of All Success with the Real Jason Duncan. If you've enjoyed this week's episode, visit therootofallsuccess.com to access the show notes and other helpful resources. Follow Jason on social media at The Real Jason Duncan. See you again next time here on The Root of All Success.
This podcast is a part of the C-Suite Radio Network. For more top business podcasts, visit c-suiteradio.com.